absolutely come before your throne right now and just be reminded of your glory and your fire. Just absolutely within every part of our being vibrate your frequency. Father, take us to a place in the spirit where we have not been. Give us revelation that we've never had. Let us see, touch, feel what we never thought possible. Let's walk in a place with you, Lord, where we understand that you have trained us, that you have equipped us for purpose and for destiny to govern creation, not just to go to church on Sunday, not just to be a good person, not just to lead someone to Jesus, but to know your function, to know who you are, your position fully matched out in creation, and to do exactly what the Father has called us to. Father, that's every person in this room has that desire in their heart to do the things that you have planned out for us to do, to function in that manner, to do that to the extent where we begin to unfold the beauty and the power and the glory that comes with what you want to bring us. I ask, Father, that you will show us tonight, out of this generation of leaders, what you truly want from us and how you want us to echo deeper and deeper into you, Lord, to begin to understand what it means to walk within the kingdom of heaven, stand within that realm and understand everything that's coming to us, everything we engage, to begin to function as someone that's cognitive and know exactly what needs to be done. Not, I'm trying to do this, I hope that I hear the voice right, I have to read and confirm 5 scriptures before I know what to do. If my Father might change his mind and I might not have to. Lord, let's just know. Let's get to know you to a place, to an extent where we really truly walk deep with you. Let us grow within that covenant desire you have for us to be intimate with you, for us as your sons and daughters to spend time with you and to really sit engaging with you, walking within the heavens and spending that quality, deep covenant relationship time together. And I pray, Father, that you will bring that to the remembrance of your people's heart. Let's truly walk in that place of desire. And let's understand how easy it is to walk deep with you without having to try and make things complicated. I have to pray all the time. I have to fast and spend enough time daily with you. Otherwise, you might love me less. Lord, let's understand we are the body, you are the head. Let's understand how intimate and how deep we already are right here, right now, just in the revelation of me and you being one. That takes me into a place of deep intimacy, a deep understanding of what it means to be one with someone that I absolutely love, praise, and worship. So, Lord, I pray that you'll just bring us to a cognitive understanding, give us revelation, knowledge, insight for who we are as a people, and how you want to really elevate and echo us into a position of authority so we can begin to take back what belongs to us and function in the things that you want us to function in. Father, we love you, we praise you, and we will glorify your holy name. Amen. Okay, so I'm going to carry on with our last session, but I'm going to try and see if I can run through it. I would like to go through everything that we've done up to this point. And again, I remind you guys that this one subject. You know, we've been running this school for a year, and over the last year, we've probably done at least 5 or 6 different subjects, right? And so the idea of Spirit School is obviously to be here as consistently as possible so that you can understand that the subjects move from one curriculum to another. It doesn't just stay in one area. It moves forward so that the revelation changes and so that there's more for us to understand. And Spirit School is designed to take you to a place where you can't go in church. And it's got nothing to do with breaking the church down. We love the church. We are the church. We go to church. We enjoy the function of the people. But when you reach a certain point in your walk with Yahweh, you need to eat different food. You know, I've been a bodybuilder all my life, and I know how important the quality of food is, and how important it is to not eat insufficient amount of food for your body type. And if I want to gain muscle, I have to eat a certain amount of food. And it's so true with the walk we have with Yahweh. It's the type of food that you eat. And I want to remind you, we are always related to sheep, and a sheep has a cud. And the reason I believe they relate us to sheep is because when they eat, they take every single little bit of the nutrition that's in that food and sift it through their body until there's literally nothing left. And I think that's kind of where the Father wants us to be, a company of people that understand the deep of who He is. But I say the deep, not so much in being able or being in a position where you have to listen and learn like you are now, but in a position where you can go into the kingdom of heaven and let that dimension of infusion takes place, where I'm just sitting with my Father and He's infusing me with revelation, wisdom, knowledge, insight. We understand it in the Hebrew as called the Yahida. Yahida is a flame that burns within the soul, that's ignited through the engagement with Yeshua. So if I am walking with Yeshua and you're walking with Yeshua and you and you and you and you, and we're in the same room, there's an ignition of the Yahida, the flame burning, that deep revelation or understanding of this company of people coming together. It's almost like the distinction between normal people and sons of Yahweh, Christians. We have something different. We have a third strand of DNA that ignites something different to you. That's why you all of a sudden have authority over demons. You all of a sudden stand in a different created form because it's no longer the old, that man, that's now the new that has come. It's a whole other creation. How you guys doing? So we kind of touched heavily on a generation of leaders. And again, it wasn't so much theology as what it was just to remind you of what needs to change in our perception. The limitations that we've grown into, the little things that we say we can't do, little things that we say is not possible, needs to kind of strip off of our understanding. That's what the word sonship really brings you to. It's realizing that I don't have to stand before my Father begging Him for anything. It is that place where I realize everything is already mine, and I just need to thank Him for it. I need to just stand in a position where I can legislate what's in mine back into the position where it's in front of me and not somewhere scattered, because that's what the enemy does. He comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Right, so we have to get to that place where we understand. We are this generation that will bring revelation to whatever the next generation place before their foot. How can I put this? It's that generation that needs to understand what we have to our beck and call. We have to listen to ourselves as sons, where we have to realize we are teachers. We are walking in a place where the next generation has to see what has to come into the ecclesia. They have to see it. And again, I want to remind you, I know people kind of get frustrated with this, but this is the reality of it. You have to talk about something for a very long time for it to sink into the heads of God's people. Then, after you've talked about it for a very long time and it's starting to sink into people's lives or hearts, then you have to get them to actually do it. So this process is not, oh, I heard something, now I'm doing it. No, it's a process. It is something you have to unlearn, to relearn, to then practice. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. There's a lot of understanding in this time that we have to change our thinking about. Because previously I thought I couldn't engage with angels. I can't speak to an angel because if I speak to an angel, I'm worshiping him, and I'm not allowed to worship angels, so that's demonic. We can't speak to angels. And then we had the whole phase of binding Satan, rebuking Satan, waking up in the morning and the first thing you do is speaking to Satan. It's just getting to that place where I realize what in my understanding needs to change to bring me to the next level. I don't need to bind Satan and fight with him. I take my position and I come against the accusations and I deal with him legally so that he has no right and he can't squat in front of me. Right? I don't know, you guys know what squatting means. Someone that just resides in a place that's not his. A squatter, yeah. I feel like changing my squat day to Sundays because in Bethesda, it's Bethesda, right? You have to stand and sit and stand and sit and stand and sit a million times. I'm like, okay, guys, can we not do the stand and sit, please? But it's a generation that will understand that this creation, this part of creation belongs to us. If I look at the lion, ox, eagle, man, and I just want to throw this revelation out there if you didn't understand this already. At the throne, what you become, what you behold, you become. Right? We have beings, they're 4 living creatures that has 4 faces, and there's multiple different kinds of these beings within the kingdom of heaven around the throne. And then we have to begin to realize if you become what you behold, and we just look at things like the Melchizedek order, lion, ox, eagle, man. We look at the 4 faces of the creatures at the throne, lion, ox, eagle, man. Look at some of the old translations talking about Moses coming down from the mountain the first time, and there was a fire and lightning, but it says that his horn-like appearances, his face was changing, glitching out, lion, ox, eagle, man. And we have to begin to understand, well, that's what happens when you're staring at God's fullness. There's a change in you. There's something that wants to shift. Lion, ox, eagle, man, it represents the 4 dimensions that we have to grow in as sons of the Most High. It excludes sonship because sonship is your foundation. It's what you step into. It's what you have to walk in before you can have access to any of the others. That's why I stand on this side of the veil, and there's a measure of faith. I shift in between this, from this side to this side, and it's a whole other dimension of faith I didn't even know existed. So my whole, everything I knew from this side of the veil, I now have to change because there's new stuff. Now I begin to realize that it's more than about salvation, more than about going to church, more than about reading your Bible and praying. It's about growing, maturing, aligning, coming to a place in your spirit walk where you can come out from your Father's 4 faces into creation and take your position as one that's meant to govern. That's understanding why it is the lion. The lion is the beast of the field. He's the king of the lion, of the jungle, right? We have the ox. The ox is the king of the domestic animals. You know, the eagle is the king of birds of flight. And you have the man, which is the king of creation. You know, there's 4 dimensions within the physical realm that the Father said, let us give them dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air. Let's give them everything that they can govern so they can begin to walk in their fullness as a oracle, as a priest, as a king, as a, what else is there? Legislator, oracle, king, and I don't know, I'm somewhere else. You guys get it?
Yeah, oracle, priest, king.
And legislator. Oracle, priest, king, legislator. And they obviously it's a dimension of representation because it's putting you in a position so that you can begin to understand that you're to function in creation out of those 4 dimensions, which means I need to be in creation carrying his presence. That's what the priest does. It carries his presence, enters into that dimension of the Yod-Heh, Vav-Heh, where the frame and the window of his presence open up for me to begin to stand in. It's understanding that from being a priest, I always have to be a king. The king grows me, the priest grows me into my kingship so that I understand my authority. I understand the legislative capacity that I carry as the king that brings judgment into creation. And again, remind yourself that we have to judge, but we don't judge to death, we judge to life. It is a life-giving judgment. So just like the Father doesn't come to hurt us or harm us with his judgment to sons and daughters is always to life. Anything outside of his presence and his protection and his covering is judged to death. So every time a human being is judged, it will be judged to life. Because that's his goal, is to get you higher, deeper, wider into him so you can become what you're supposed to be. So as we teach this generation how to take the ground back, how to carry the presence of God. And I want to tell you, it's not, and it might have a little bit something to do with it, but it's not to soak in your room for 10 hours a day. That's not how you carry the presence. Now, I know people have done it and they've experienced phenomenal, crazy dimensions of Yahweh's presence and the frequency within that place. And yes, it is viable. It's obviously viable to spend that much time with God and to pray and seek and fast. But no one's got time for that. That's just the reality of it. So there has to be another way of engaging with my Father in the same amount of time when I don't have time, when I can still press in every day. I have to get to a place where I realize how important it is for me to spend time with God 24/7. To constantly be in a place where whether I have time or whether I not have time, we are one body. We are in a position where we can communicate, because it's out of the communication where my responsibility becomes a reality. Because everything he does is to put me in a place of responsibility. It's to grow me to a high enough position where I can become responsible for something. Why? Because according to my responsibility, he can bless me financially. According to my responsibility, he gives me authority. According to my responsibility, he carries me into a place where I've never been before. Because the more responsible I get, the more he opens up to me. That's the generation that has to understand why it's so important to take back what belongs to you. I can no longer look at Satanism and say, oh, that's for Satanists. Every truth and all things that's out there within creation that does not belong to any other demonic entity or any other religion, any force, any power that is not my God, has to give back what it's stolen, has to give back what is no longer theirs. And we have to remind ourselves of this because there's nothing out there that only belongs to Satan. No matter how much power you want to give him, he has no right to nothing. So whatever he has in hand belongs to me. Whatever he thinks he's holding back belongs to me. Now, there might be some things that I no longer want because he had it in his hand. It will be recreated, right? And that will be multiplied to us. How you guys doing? This generation of leaders will have a passion for the love of God and walk in his ways and serve him with all their hearts and souls. And I love the idea because we've seen it. We've seen it in the church. It's beautiful. And I'm going to say something without wanting you to think that I'm being judgmental, but as a son of the Most High, as someone that lives in the Spirit, walk in the Spirit, just like many of you, I can see in the Spirit. And so if I come to church on Sunday and there's 500 people standing in front, worshiping God and just swinging and just having a great time, it's not my place to go sit and judge them, but I can see who's worshiping God and who's just going through emotion. And the problem with that is there's a lot that's just going through motions. You know, it says that I will love you with all my heart, I'll have a passion for you. But if you've been churched all your life and you come forward and you open your mouth and you say the same types of stuff all the time, you come and you stand before the Father and you're raising your hands, but your mind's racing with 100 other things that you focus on and you're not really worshiping, it just looks like you're worshiping. You can't fool God. It's like a generation that will not need to be seen. And I'm not saying that when you stand in front or you raise your hand or you do something physical in church that you're trying to be seen. I understand why we do it. But the idea is it'll be a generation that will serve him and worship him and magnify him in a position, in a place where it doesn't have to be seen. I mean, no one knows what you're doing. And a matter of fact, one of my biggest frustration is people coming to me at church asking me, are you used to this type of church service where people laugh and fall under the power? And I'm like, yeah, I've been in it all my life. Because I don't respond to the things that people respond to. I've been in it for so long. I don't worship like that anymore. Oh, but what do you mean? That's the way you worship, brother. No, there has to be a change. I'm constantly growing. I'm constantly changing. I no longer feel that I need to bow before my God, raise my hands, clap my hands, jump up and down. And that's a feeling that I love and cherish because everybody enjoys being happy. But when I'm sitting with my Father, I no longer have the time or the patience in me to sit and kiss his feet. Now you say, oh, well, you should always be. No, it is a growth. I have been kissing his feet all my life. I've been sitting with him, loving on him, just being in that place of intimacy. But if you're a married man or woman, you understand how intimacy changes, how levels of intimacy changes, how you're close in a specific way, in a specific season, and then something changes. It's growth. And you might be less focused on one area and kind of move things over to another area, and the focus of the marriage kind of shifts a little bit, and so on and so on and so on. Every time you get a little bit older, every time you get a little bit wiser, something changes, something shifts. Your focus from one thing changes to another thing that is more important in the long run than the little things we focus on in the beginning. So as we get older, it's the same with the Spirit. Yahweh is calling a people that will love him. They will not care about the dancing and the jumping and the clapping and the looking holy in front so everyone can see. And I'm not even saying that that's what people are doing, but I don't understand for my own personal sake why anybody needs to see what I'm doing in the Spirit. As a matter of fact, I try to hide it as much as I possibly can by looking as unspiritual as possible. And I will not raise my hand in that church. Somebody might just think I'm a Christian, and I don't. I'm just joking. But it's not anybody's concern what I'm doing. I'm not sitting there to make myself feel better. I got there feeling great. And now I want to give to the community. I want to give to the ecclesia because I love him in a way that I can't express or explain. I am a son of the Most High God. I walk with the frequency of his presence that I can't explain to you. You need to just touch my arm. You need to just walk with me in the Spirit. You need to see it. You need to be able to go into it. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like a generation that is not just give me a like, give me a follow, give me a share. You know, It's kind of where we're at with everything nowadays. Like, follow, and share. And everyone does it, but it's like, are we joking? Are you joking me right now? In what world does everything come about a like, a follow, a view, and a share? It's bad. It's really bad. This Joshua generation will warn the next generation about the dangers of compromise and going backwards. Man, I am in a position in my life where I can literally say I've never gone backwards. And that's a bold statement, I think, because it's so easy to go backwards. But I want to give praise to a teaching that I got so many years ago, and it became the core of Spirit School. And it's dividing soul and spirit. Once I divided my soul and spirit, everything changed. It was like there was no compromise. There's nothing that pulls me down. No, not my circumstances. Now, I talk about this, I say this, but I'm sure there's 5 minutes, there's 10 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour of my day where I'm really depressed or really sad or really annoyed or really angry or really something I know in my heart I shouldn't really be or have any part of. But I'll choose to have it anyway. But yeah, in my life, I get to the point where I really want people to understand how important it is to be consistent in what you're doing, to be in a place where you're not just praising God a little bit here, praising God a little bit there. It is something you do consistently, continuously, all the time. I don't like a lot of change in my life. I mean, I don't mind change, but it's not something I enjoy. And the reason I don't enjoy change is because I constantly want to do similar things over and over again. That sounds crazy, but that's how consistent I am. That's why I've been in the gym for 36 years. I've been a spirit-filled, born-again son of the Most High God for 36 years. I can't remember the last time I quit something. I don't want to quit. I want to push forward and push through as hard as I can to get what is there for me so that everyone can benefit from it. And it's a mentality of a people. It's something that comes in an intimacy, in a covenant, where you see the fact that the passion of the Father, and you want to move into a place where there's absolutely no compromise. You don't go backwards. You're always stopping forwards, always moving one step forward, always taking one step forward. And I say that because I've seen how easy it is to backslide. It's easy to backslide, but it's even easier if you're no longer connected to your soul's way of thinking. Because let me tell you, your soul does not think right. That's the healing that has to take place. That's why we meditate on that which is written, the Word of God, the written Word. We have to meditate on that so that your cognitive mind can understand things in a different way, so that when your spirit comes in to teach, to open up, to propel, it has a revelation of what it's trying to say. Because if there's no revelation, your soul will reject everything your spirit brings into place. That's why reading supernatural books like Ezekiel 1, Ezekiel 10, just some of Enoch's books, some of Revelations itself. There's a lot of stuff that we can read to give me a visual of what I need to engage. Because if Yeshua's coming to us in visions and signs and wonders and dreams and things that we have to see with our spirit eyes, then we have to be able to visualize the things that might appear before us. For example, John had no idea what a fighter's helicopter would look like. So when he described something that I would think is a helicopter that can shoot and that has blades in the front and blades on the side, he talks about it being a scorpion or some weird vicious animal that shoots flames from its top. But we all know it's a helicopter, like a warship helicopter, because that's what we've already seen. He never saw anything like that. So the times that he's prophesying into is something he's looking at, he can't understand. And there's a lot of the things that we reject within the spirit realm because we can't perceive it. We can't understand it. We can't keep our focus on it. So there's flashes that the Father wants to bring to us. There's things that he wants us to understand. There's revelation he wants to bring. But because we haven't studied the Word enough, we haven't created the images of the heavens in our minds, we're rejecting the things that's popping up. And of course, this generation has to be at a place where we do not reject the things that the Father wants to show us, because that's where he's going to get us to understand what true worship is. It's that deep place where I'm standing before my Father and I'm engaging everything he puts before me. I don't just do my own thing. I don't just, oh, let's worship. Let's listen to some nice music. Let me read some Bible. Because that's going to do me. That's going to get me to where I need to be with my Father. No. Sit with Him and allow Him to speak to you. Allow Him to open you up. I enjoy reading the Bible, but I enjoy sitting with my Father way more. I enjoy sitting with my Father a million times more than reading the Bible. I have never gotten as much out of reading the Bible as what I've gotten at sitting with my Father. But the more I read the Bible, the more I know the Bible, the more I understand the Genesis to Revelation scripture, the more I understand my Father's heart. The more I understand how beautiful and incredible and phenomenal He is. And because the Word which is written has layers and dimensions, the more I get to know it, the deeper I can go through my engagements, because the more imagery I have and the more I can see, the more I can perceive, the more I perceive, the more I'm going to get out of it. So it's almost like, well, we have to understand, for the living Word to be activated, for the spoken Word to be activated, for that which is written to be activated, there has to be a combination of all three of it fully engaged in it, if that makes sense. I can't just have that which is written. I can't just have that which is spoken, and I can't only have that which is alive. I have to have all three dimensions of the Word to bring it into a reality for me, so I can become the generation that will never stop, the generation that will never compromise and move back. Because we have to stand against what we previously believed and didn't work. We cannot keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting it's going to be different results. That makes no sense, right? Are you guys okay?
Yeah.
Generation that will charge the next generation to never stop warring. And I know a lot of these sound the same as previous weekends, but previous weeks, but this one is a generation of sons and daughters who understand what it means to be in war mode. I'm not warring. I don't have to fight. There's no actual, let's get into a position. It's the war's over. It's done. The soldiers is walking around seeing what they can pick up, what belongs to them, what's theirs. That's the difference in what I'm talking about here. One is, well, I'm about to go war. The other one is, we've won. We've taken what's ours. The ground is done. The keys of death, hell, and grave have been taken. The enemy is dead, defeated. That's kind of the position we've always had. We just never thought that was the position we were in. And I don't understand that, right? Because let's get this. He said, I've already defeated the enemy. So if he's already defeated the enemy, then what am I worrying about? Why is there a war? Why is there always a fight? Why does Christians always need to be in a fighting war where there's demons and there's angels fighting? I mean, it shouldn't be. It's only like that because legislators don't know how to legislate, kings don't know how to judge, and sons don't know how to be sons. But as we begin to grow into our positions and we begin to realize who we are and what we need to do, the church is not going to pray on Sunday, ask for forgiveness, do a little bit of the same thing on Monday, and then hope for Sunday so I can ask for forgiveness again and go on with my life. We understand that there's a little bit more to our faith than that. We have to function in creation, bring restoration to all things. And therefore we can no longer just sit. And I say this because, we've learned to go to church and to present ourselves, and we've learned to be in a group and read the Bible and preach and say something so you feel good about yourself, but we have to move out of that place where we just do certain things because everyone else is doing it, or we just do certain things because we think, well, this is how you become what you're supposed to be. We have to sit in a position where I can go into my Father's heart, where He begins to show me what I need to do first, in a place, in a position where no one can see what I'm doing. No one can see what I do, and no one is allowed to even know what I'm doing, because it's a place for the sons to be hidden, so we can train and be equipped. And that's where He's gotten most of us right now, is to get trained and equipped to become more than what you've heard or more than what you thought you could be. Because I'm telling you, church has told me that if I pray for 5 hours and I lay hands on all the sick and I pray for all the sick and I prophesy and I do all those things, I will become more powerful. But I'm telling you, it is the other way around. It is when I sit with my Father, engage with my Father, worship my Father, spend intimate time with Him, understand my position, understand who I am, gain knowledge, grow in maturity, shift into a deeper place. Do not just sit and absorb information. Information is important, but you have to take the information and mend it into your DNA by engaging everything you've seen, everything that's been spoken of, everything that's presented to you in the flesh, in the natural, and the spiritual realms. It's a position I sit in and long for as it mends through my mind. It's the Father calling a generation to understand the power that knowledge truly carries. And I want to say this because my father made a statement, and it was very powerful. It's always been powerful. My people die because of a lack of knowledge. And if we turn that around and we say, my people live because of a lack of knowledge, then we have to understand the importance of engaging what is already out there. And again, like I've said this before, and this is a generation that understands this warring and never stop warring, but not with the mentality of I have to war, with the mentality of I was a soldier, we won the battle, it's over, let's go collect the spoils. It's a different mindset. It's understanding your value and understanding what's already happened instead of having to fight. So the more we fight the enemy, the more he has ground to stand on. And that's kind of what we're trying to move away from. We don't want him to have any ground or even think he's got any ground. Or we don't even want him to believe that there is any ground for him to have or think of in any way, fashion, or form, because it has to get to a place where it is no longer available. The enemy has no longer got the grip. He no longer has the strength. He no longer has the right to do the things he's done. Let's think about it for 1 second. And I really don't even appreciate talking about him all that much. I stopped talking about him for many years because he's not relevant to my life at all. But if he is completely defeated, and we've known this since the very beginning because that was the whole point of the cross, then what have we been afraid of? What have we been warring? And what are we always constantly binding and rebuking? I mean, it blows my mind if that is our mentality, because he's defeated, he's disarmed, he has no longer got any right, the death, hell, and the grave was taken from him. What are we afraid of? Why are we so warring against a fighting foe that has no power, that is defeated, that no longer has the ground to stand on? And as a matter of fact, the only reason he still has ground to stand on is because people are still giving him ground. When I withdraw, when Satan is trying to come against me, I give you this pain in your arm, this pain in your arm, and I go, nah, that's not Satan. He doesn't have that type of power. He's nothing in my life. And I just ignore the idea. And I know people don't like this because acknowledge it, see it, and then fight against it. So if I ignore a dog for long enough, he will leave me alone. And I know we might not see it like this, but I'm telling you, the more power you give him, if I hear him, I don't ignore him. Don't misunderstand me ignoring him regarding, or me just kind of staying away from him. Because I hear an accusation, I take it into the court. I don't bind Satan. I'm not sharing my breath with him. I'm not being in the same room where I share with him. I'm taking him into another realm, into a different place where he loses his right, I lose my right, but we enter in completely balanced, if that makes sense. This is a courtroom. So from there, only what is lawful and only which is just can have the rights. No lies can stand. So there Satan comes in and it's like giving you something, because he might have an accusation against me with an open door that happened in my generations before I was even born. I don't know how to come against that. I can't disagree. So what my immediate result is, well, I agree with my accuser immediately. Because whatever I agree to in the courts is opened up to the blood of Yeshua. Because he has died on the cross for everything. So whatever I'm accused for, he died for. Whatever accusation is made against me, he died for. So whatever comes against me, I agree with, so that I'm not stuck in it, but I can break free from the place where yes, you're right, I did that, but the blood. And I want to say this because if a generation can understand that type of war, then the enemy is defeated. And the enemy no longer has any power, because the less we give him, the less he can run with. And the idea is for him to not be able to run with anything, that nothing in the governance of this earth has anything to do with what he's in control of, because he cannot be and has no right to be in control of anything. How you guys doing?
Good. Oh,
The Joshua generation will set a clear choice before the next generation. It's almost like it becomes our job as a generation of generals, of men and women that has walked deep with the Father, to understand what the next generation needs to have. And I say this, and I said this many times. I was already born again for almost 18 years before I started walking in these revelations. So for 18 years, I believed a certain way. Then the Father comes in and changes my theology, changes a lot of my views and perceptions into something that has now grown over 14 years of engaging it and kind of stepping into that. So I don't no longer see things the way I used to see it, but I still have the same, some of the belief systems of my old day is still the same in this day. And I'm trying to explain this right. I know the truth because I've taught it, I've touched it, I've felt it, I've seen the Father present it to me several times, but I've not experienced it in its full measure in my life yet. So it's the process of having to get to a place where I can believe it to such an extent, because so you can't believe something you haven't seen. You can't believe or see something that you haven't truly desired. So it's a process of having to move out of my own way, my old perceptions, my old understanding of how things should be, to break off of that so I can begin to enter into the place where I can present something to the next generation that will not just change their life, but it will change the life of those that they know, because it has had such an impact on a generation of people. And I say that because what I know today, if I knew this 14 years ago, I mean, if I knew this, let's say 28 years ago, when I just started in my faith, I wouldn't have had to go through those things. The first thing I knew I could do is divide soul and spirit. I mean, that's 20 years down the line. No one ever mentioned anything about dividing soul and spirit for 20 years of my faith. 20 years of walking with the Father, I never heard that teaching ever in my entire life. And when I heard it, it made so much sense to me. That's all I wanted. Once I divided my soul and my spirit, that's where all the revelation breaks open. All of a sudden, you look at everything from a different perspective. You can no longer see it from the same side. It looks different. It looks wrong looking at it through the eyes of the previous age. When your eyes start switching and you start looking at it from a different perspective, it changes everything. The choices we will present to this generation will be of that comes from out of the heavens to establish a new earth. It will not be church revelation. It will not be church understanding. It will be a dimension within the Father's heart where we would have gathered it as because we spent time there, because He's opened up that realm for us. And we're beginning to understand now that within the time that He's given us to walk with Him in this measure, we have to push for it as hard as we possibly can. And I say this because not that it's work, because it's not work. It is. I'm telling you, my day goes by and people would think, well, you haven't spent any time with God. You haven't done any fasting. You haven't done. I have not fasted in a very long time, because I believed for so many years that I couldn't see my God. I couldn't go there. I can't physically be with Him because He's a spirit and I'm not. I had to believe that because that was what the church taught. And Jesus even made a statement to His disciples. They were asking Him, the Pharisees and Sadducees were saying, why is John's disciples fasting but you're not? Yours is not. And He made a statement and said, well, I'm right here. They can fast when I leave, but when I'm right here, why would they need to fast? And I think this is kind of where the Father wants us to understand who we are. Because He's here. He's right here in front of me. I engage with Him every day. I go where He is. I sit with Him in the kingdom of heaven. I don't have to wait for Him to come. We already spend enough time together. I say enough, we can spend more time together. It's up to me. He's always available. He always wants to go deep. He's always right there. It's my responsibility to live in that realm, to bring that realm into my today, and to bring that place into my full focus, because that is the sight He wants me to have. That is the engagement He wants me to have. That's the doorway He wants me to break open, because the next generation has to see it like that. We have to teach it in a way that because if I look back now, each generation of teachings are the same. I shared this last week. I met a man of God that shared something with me once that changed my life. Yes, in the presence of God. 20 years later, I saw the same man again, but this time he was preaching the same message in the same way, with the same results. Same thing over and over again. And I thought to myself, that is not what I want. That is consistent and that sounds great, but that is not what I want. That is no growth. In 20 years, you have no better message, you have no better signs, you have no better wonders. Everything is exactly the same. We have to understand, yes, it's incredible and it's phenomenal, and I'm not breaking it down. If someone gets healed, it's incredible. It's wow, thank you, Yahweh, you're amazing. But what about the things in the nations that needs to change? There's so much that needs to happen in creation for all things to come into full fruition, and we don't know what we're doing. But it's just this whole series is really just to get the mindset of this generation right. Because it's not so much of what I'm doing right now as what it is what I'm about to start doing when the doors open, when the gates are open on Sunday in Bethesda. I usually sit and I do some things in the spirit realm. My worship consists of different types of things. It looks different than, I guess, normal worship. I don't know. I don't know how to put it. I don't think I need to explain it. But I'm sitting in this place and in this room, and I feel in my heart that I just created a massive door within this specific area that we were in. And all of a sudden, the seven spirits, a bunch of angelic beings, and Melchizedek himself walks in through a dimensional door and begins to present himself to the congregation of the ecclesia. And first up was Wisdom, and she takes the mic and starts speaking. 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. And I remember standing there thinking to myself, I was hoping that Melchizedek would come in, because I just had my first encounter with him in the Mountain of Gold in a specific area where we sat for hours and discussing all kinds of things. And I would have liked him to come in and share with the congregation. And I haven't even finished saying that. And I remember it was the Spirit of the Fear of the Lord's chance to take the mic, and Melchizedek comes walking in, and he takes the mic, and he says, excuse me, let me just quickly share what I need to share. And he starts talking, and he literally gives, it's just this massive engagement within this realm that the Father opens up, and there's a lot of detail to it that I don't particularly have to share. And the Father just starts showing me that we have to see these things before we're going to start believing it. And I know that we don't always understand that, because, that's just your imagination. No, it is inward sight. It is your spirit showing your soul and your body what it wants to bring to reality, what it wants to bring into fruition, what it wants to present to you, what it wants to show you, a journey of revelation, infused dimensional revelation that's required for us as sons, because we have to be able to see the things our Father does for us to do it. It's never been do what I say you should do. It's always been do what I tell you to do. So it's a place within the Father's heart where we don't do what we see, but we do what He does. I'm a father, and I'm sure you guys can say the same thing. Many times I've realized that I have to tell my kids what to do by what I do. I can't tell my kids what they should do by what I don't do, because then they don't do it. They do what I do. It's very important to understand that. You have to see what Jesus was saying. I only do what I see my Father do. Because when you start seeing your Father doing things, that's the way you'd want to do it. Does that make sense? Okay, Father, we just want to thank you and praise you and glorify and magnify your incredible name. I ask, Father, that as we have gone through all these aspects of the leadership, Father, that you require for the season of our walk with you, I ask, Father, that you will open our hearts to really, truly go deep, to see and perceive the things that needs to be seen. I ask, Father, that you will hold us deep in your presence, so that we can begin to understand the mysteries and the secrets, the deep that is out there for us, Father God. I know it's almost like, well, why do you want the deep things? Because there is so much more, and I want everything you have for us, Father. I know you're an infinite God, and we can never know everything before time and within time and outside of time. It is too much. But I pray, Father, that you will reveal to your sons and your daughters as much as we could possibly hold, as much as we can possibly transform into. Because what needs to take place in creation is full restoration, and I know that comes from the Son. So open our hearts, let's walk deep in revelation, let's see and perceive, and let's get to a place of worship and adoration where we can do the things that needs to be done and the requirements that the earth has for us to bring into full restoration, and for us to truly walk with you in the dimensions and become the sons in the earth that we need to be. Father, we love you, we praise you, and we thank you in the name of Yeshua. Amen.